Know this about getting things done when you're not motivated. I've been a psychologist for 8 years, and this is what I know. Today I want to tell you about one strategy for efficiency that I often use. I want to tell you about how to use it in the most efficient way to help you get things done when you're not motivated. The strategy is called Make a List. I want to make this video about using this strategy, make a list, of when you are experiencing low motivation. I thought to add on more sort of caveats to this video, but I saw how long the script got and I thought, okay, let's just put this into the next video. So I'll talk about there when you can also use making a list and what you should be careful about with regards to it. So let's go. First, I want to talk a little bit about not being motivated. Either this can be due to that we have a task that we don't like doing or that we don't want to do. Maybe the task is hard or boring or just unappealing to us. Or not being motivated can also be a symptom that comes from us having been stressed out for a while. When we're stressing or stressed out, our mind will for a while run on adrenaline and then later on switch over to cortisol. Cortisol is, like you might know, more commonly known as the stress hormone. When we've been stressed out for a while, running on high levels of cortisol, and we then get out of the stressful situation. For example, we finish a project, we finally get things sorted, or because one way or another, life just sort of normalizes a bit. Then the cortisol production will stop as we're no longer stressed out. For most, after a very high stress period, there will come a period that I call the down period. This is also what you sometimes call burnout in the States. This period and its symptoms can differ in magnitude. It can be either a very present state of low energy, low motivation, and low mood, or it can be a light version of this, but with the same symptoms. What I'm trying to say here is that I usually see a period with low motivation for my clients who've just exited a very stressful period in their lives. This down period that they end up in after having been stressed out is very normal. It's not because they're broken or that they broke their mind because of the stress. It's just how our brains react after a short or longer period running on cortisol. This reaction of us going from high stress to low energy and low motivation is what happens for most. In psychology, we see it as a statistically normal reaction. How I see it or explain it, other than the neurobiological version, is that the mind is trying to restore and get us to chill out after we've been running around like a mad person. Figuratively, of course. Most people's stress involves what's going on in their mind or running around in their mind. Not running around, but you get the point. So, the low period is our mind trying to force us to stop and chill out. In order to do so, it produces symptoms of low energy and low motivation. This can for many feel like the mind is overdoing it, that it's stopping us too much. When we find ourselves in that down period, we'll often find that we're not motivated to do the things that we're normally perfectly able to do, often without being very conscious of it. That all of the sudden small things such as doing our groceries, keeping our home tidy, going to work and doing work can feel like huge impossible tasks. When we're not in a down period, our mind works normally and we feel like these tasks are easily done. We just do them with little resistance from the mind. But when we're low on motivation in that period that comes from us being stressed out, we don't feel like it's easy. We feel like it's hard and difficult to get started. This again is where I need to stop myself from talking for hours about the neurobiology of the mind and the research and the history. So, not today at least. But now we've spoken about what can lead us to feeling unmotivated. Of course, not being motivated can also be a more simple thing, such as the task just not being very appealing. When you feel unmotivated, you feel like you can't get yourself to get started doing the thing that you intend. One easy fix could of course be to not do the thing. But as this is often not the option in a normal life with plenty of to-dos, and because doing too little is not good for our mental health, therefore, I want you to know how to get the things done, in spite of not being motivated. So, how to get things done when you're not motivated. The strategy is make a list. Some of my clients use their phone. I prefer pen and paper, both works. When you sit down to make a list, you should keep in mind to keep it simple. When we're not motivated, we can feel like that even smaller tasks can be huge. And we should be mindful of this when we're using this strategy. This makes me think of that old saying of how to eat an elephant in smaller pieces. So when I write a list, it does not say clean the house, prep food, and do work. These categories are too large, and I find that if I make them as such, or if I write it like that my mind will continue its rigidity and resistance, and thus I'll have no success in what I was intending. What I wanted to do was that I wanted to help my mind find it a bit easier to get started on doing some of the things that I had to do. If I make the categories too large or the tasks on my list too complex, then I'll just instead end up sitting and looking at an overwhelming list of things that I cannot get myself to do. And that's not helpful. So what I'll do is that I'll start with writing the date on the top of the page. This is to signal to me that I'm not intending to make a plan for a month or the next 6 months, but that I'm making a plan for today. I can always later edit the list, so I don't worry too much about the things that I write down. If I end up not doing one of the things, then I can always make a list with that item another day. Under the date that I put on the paper, I'll write the things in micro detail, such as find vacuum cleaner, take out trash bag, put in new trash bag, fill dishwasher, put clothes in laundry basket, go and buy milk, vacuum living room, wipe countertop. As you can hear, my list doesn't say clean kitchen, clean living room, or do laundry. It might end up that those are the things that I will have gotten done by the end of the day. But when I have problems with low motivation, setting myself complex goals will likely not be the key to success or efficiency. It won't help me feel like getting started, but writing down small detailed tasks will. What I do is that I keep in mind that I am low on motivation, either because I find the task unappealing or because I'm having a down period. Either way, I know that my mind is not really up for getting started on anything. Because I know that, I also know that I need to accommodate for that. It's easier to convince myself to go and find the vacuum cleaner and set it out than to tell myself to start cleaning the whole house. It's easier to get up and take out the trash if that's the only thing I have to do. When we have a task that's small, it's easier to get ourselves to do it. It does not take long, and most importantly, it does not take up a lot of brain power. We can almost switch off our brain and just be stupid. This is the point of the list, to write down the things that we want to get done, but to write to ourselves as if we were a little bit stupid. Could you get up and only water one plant? Probably yes. But how about getting up and sorting out your full office? Likely no. There is the resistance. When we're not motivated, we're not motivated. We should not spend our energy on trying to fix this. Instead, we should spend our time and energy on sidestepping this state. And this can be done with a micro list. When you have done a list with maybe 5 to 10 items, then you get up and set yourself a goal of doing one at a time. Find the vacuum cleaner. When you've found it and put it out, you cross that item off the list. Then you look at the next task on the list. Take out trash bag. When you've taken the trash bag out, you cross that task out. You can now decide to take a break, or you can continue going. You look at the list again and see that it reads, put in new trash bag, and you do that, and cross it off your list. You might choose that this is good for now, and that you'll get back to the list later on, or you continue. Both is fine, because getting back to doing things is easier. Because what you need to do is to just look at the next item on your list, do that, and then cross it off. When you write a list, try and keep it quick. We don't write lists with 50 to-dos or spend a long time prioritizing or thinking about it. Just jot down 5 to 10 micro tasks and then do one at a time. I call it micro tasks because I find that making these tasks small and often requiring only minutes is the most helpful in convincing my unmotivated mind to do them anyways. Having a list also helps you be able to pick up the list and put it down without having to use much brain power. You don't have to analyze or remember. You just have to look at the list and see exactly what it says. This makes it so that you can easily take a break or be disturbed without it affecting your concentration or you risking to forget where you had gotten to. Make a list for this reason helps with getting started doing things when you're not motivated. When you're low on motivation and feel that you can't or won't do a thing, but you need to get it done anyways. Making it into small pieces and not thinking about it can help convince yourself to do it anyways. Sometimes, when I don't want to empty the dishwasher, I allow myself to just take out the glasses and then later the plates. Or I'll split it up in that I empty it, but I put the clean things on the counter and wait to put them away to later on in the day. I think this was all we had time for. What was your takeaway from today's video? As always, feel free to take away the information you can use, if any, and leave the rest. Hopefully you found that today's topic made sense and I did not waste your time. Please like or subscribe or share with a friend. My channel is new, so I'm trying to make it a bit bigger. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you for the next one.